Oh, hello guys, welcome back. So today let's talk about taking apart an altar for God you no longer serve. Now, you will be the one who knows when it's the right time to do this. It might happen the instant you two stop working together. You might just be that kind of personality. You might be like, it's time, you're gone, I'm getting rid of your stuff. You don't get space. Some of us, it takes years. And we just kind of have their stuff, and maybe we dispersed it all over house. Eventually you do reach a point where you're truly at peace with them being gone. And to me, it depends entirely on what is seeing their stuff doing to you. Does it make you feel at peace, and does it remind you of them in a good way? Then great, hold on to it if you want. But if it's starting to agitate you, or you're getting sad, or you just go into some kind of mourning state every single time you see it, then it's time to let it go. And, Odin is one to make hay while the sun shines, and since we're already going through having a mourning period for my brother, we're using this to go through, and those that I no longer work with, we're going through altars and like little leftover statues and that, and thinking, am I emotionally neutral or attached to this in a good way? Is it like, oh, I remember working with them and they were a valued teacher. Like the Bastet and the Anubis statue can stay forever because they were my parents decades ago, but I'm okay with not working with them now. But if it's something that's more turbulent and you wish you still had the relationship, you will come to a point where you'll come to peace with it. And like I said, some people, that's the instant the relationship ends. And for some of us, it takes years, but then, go through and go to the altar, and that's what we've been doing today. I actually started listening to there's no audio of it on YouTube that I found, but The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, which is just what it sounds like. And it's for people 80 and above, and it's about, getting your house in order. It's about, it would be a more practical idea to give the children the stuff you want them to have now than to wait for free for all after you die. And it would be a more practical way, or at least, put little tags or something, notes on it. And it would be a more important thing to, downsize your stuff now. Don't leave it for the children. She talks about, like embarrassing stuff you might not like your family to find after you die, like very impersonal letters that might do psychic damage to your children who don't need to think of you in that way. Stuff like that. It's, once you reach a certain age, remember, you'll always have the memories with you, and then, maybe let that stuff go. Don't put it in a box and mark do not look or private, because believe me, human curiosity, somebody will get some psychic damage somewhere. And, it's if it's private stuff, especially if it's stuff you don't want people to know, she suggests getting rid of it. So, that kind of got me into a mood to be like, I know that for a while now, any kind of, relationship I have with God X, Y, or Z was something I was more making up. And I thought it was just Odin being aggressive and mean. And he was like, you literally do not need that anymore. You literally do not need it anymore. Think of why. So I got, some books went out that were connected to certain deities. And we went to this grand altar. And there was one for one brother on the left. And there was one for the other brother on the right. And we're going through this. Now, full disclosure, we're talking about Voodoo and Loa, and whatever you think of someone that looks like me working with them, if they were active in your life, or if you think it wasn't them, whatever was passing off as them was active in my life, you would know in a millisecond of starting to deconstruct their altar. And I've been doing this for a little bit now, and believe me, nothing's happened, so I know they're not active in my life. But what I've done is respectfully tell them, look, I know we haven't been together for a while, and I want you to know I'll always love you, but it's time for me to move on. And then, respectfully take down any statues or things like that. And what I finally decided I had the courage to do, because I've known for years, it's been sitting there. There was a grand, big, huge altar. One half was for Leba, one half was for Ogu. And it's time to let their stuff go. So some stuff that was intensely personal, meant only for them, has gone. Some stuff that I'm not sure about the history of how I used it, that is gone as well. Like, say, a cup that I'm not sure if it's still food safe or something. It's only logical to get rid of it. Because you multitask with them, and I'm like, I don't know if I ever burned incense or anything in some of these cups. Who knows? It's been, it's been over a decade. So, it's been a thing of going through and telling the gods personal stories, and what I'm doing is we're kind of having, in a very positive sense, kind of yard sale for the gods. And Loki and Odin were at my side immediately, and I'm like, well, is there anything you want? Is there anything you want out of all this? And of course they're sad because you're facing the end of a relationship. And practical stuff like, money, that was like an offering that, obviously, out of all the Loa, if Legba had wanted to take it with him, he would have. Stuff like that, I feel free to put back into the kitty because, that usually the thing is you put it on their altar until you have enough to go buy them something, and then you go buy them something. And once they're out of the family group and it's been long enough, you take that, put it in the main kitty, and have it, to go buy household goods. That's why you put money on the altar, by the way. It's an offering to them to take care of you, yes, but it's also a very practical thing. If you can go to an altar and pick up $30 and you're crying to them, I need a candle for you, go take that $30, go buy the candle. That's exactly what it's there for. So, Loki got a what do you want to call it? A ornament slash jewel out of it. And Odin got a statue out of it. And the thing was, I had gotten this statue many years ago for Legba, and I had always thought it's a shame it has one eye. And Odin took that and Loki took that, and I think it's reinforcing they were brothers, we are brothers. You still have two brothers to take care of you. And we're respecting some stuff almost as grave goods and getting rid of it. And other stuff, they just gave me a bit of advice, a very friendly bit of advice. Don't just think, oh, that god's related to the sea or that god's related to this, and shove it off on them. And we're just going to let the altar be open now. And if a god wants something, I don't care if it's out of character for them, they can have it. I do know that, one side had enough weapons on it to start a war, and Odin's like, there's weapons on that altar. Yeah, Ogus were personified. Why? There's weapons on that altar, my dears. He's been looking at them very lovingly, and I'm like, yeah, and I spent a lot of time polishing that sword. Hey, you want that sword, don't you? Could have it. Wouldn't hurt me. So I think I know who's going to get all the swords and weaponry. And, Tyr hasn't stepped forward or anything and said, oh, I would like that. And, I haven't had Njord say, oh, they're all kind of being peaceful and they're waiting. And right now it's just open. If one of them comes up to me and says, hey, that thing on your altar? I'll say, yeah. Can I have it? Sure. Right now, I said right now for practical reasons, because we just cleaned the whole house and got it perfect. I said, we'll leave everything on the altar, except for, I brought the jewel up for Loki, and Loki's like, you're tweeting me like an adult, because it does look like kitty land on his altar, and that was just something we developed when we made the altar, but I think he likes it. A lot of his altars, believe it or not, despite what you see behind me, do look more mature, and they only have one or two cute things on them. So I said, well, Loki, if you want to change things up and make some sacrifices, or put some stuff away because we have storage room now, I said, then you can have more mature things, because playful isn't a adjective I would apply to leg buttons the same colors. I said, but you have to let me know, buddy. You have to let me know if you're okay with it and if it feels good to you. If it doesn't, if it feels bad, it's fine, and then, as you do that, maybe you don't want to give it to your gods, maybe you're like, this was just all intensely personal, you know you have to think of the environment. It's, one day, decades ago, nobody thought any better and everybody was going out into the woods. There must be billions of burial mounds out in the woods with all these altar goods. You can deconsecrate it and donate it. You can give it to someone else who works with that deity. You can give it to another deity, or you can just decorate with it. It's now a mundane object again. The sacredness has gone out of it, at least the sacredness of that relationship. So you can give it to anyone else, I've already had the Norse gods going around putting little Norse god paws on everything, so I'm good with what's in the house. But, I just figured we'd talk about that today because it's an important part of, even if whether you're grieving, or going through a mourning process for, say, human relative or friend or whatever, that can be a good time to look at other stuff you haven't tackled yet too. And maybe it's too much for you right now, but remember, every process is different. I did a lot of my mourning because we were estranged. I did a lot of mourning for my brother when he was alive. So right now I'm certainly sad and restless and angry and happy and everything else, all those emotions you go through. But it's not as intense as it was for, like, say, my parents or something like that. So it's been a good practical time to go do good practical things, and dismantling these altars and dispersing it to the house and finally admitting, yes, they're no longer part of my life. It's been an important part of it. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.